Hello everyone, welcome to Gosport Railworks. My name's James and today we're doing another 3D printed product showcase video. This time we've got two tank engines, two steam engines, some coaches and another multiple unit. So there's another 4 product review video. So let's go through them one by one. First of all, the multiple unit. This is the Southern Railway Bulleid 4 sub. This is the later variety, so it does have the flat face on the front. It does come with a couple of varieties, mainly for the changes of interior walls over the years. So that's quite nice. I'm very happy with how the details turned out. Unfortunately, I did break a bit of the detail, which is why you can see some milliput on the front there. So just ignore that. It does come with underframes as well. I'll go for the tank engine first. This is the LBSCR I2 class, which is a Marsh tank engine, if I remember right, and that has turned out quite nicely. I'm very happy with it. It's a very unique wheel arrangement of being a 442. So yeah, very nice there. So have been wanting another tank engine for a while, so that's to do later. We'll go with the tender engine now, which is the, well, you should actually vaguely recognise it. It's the same class as my actual steam engine. So this is a LSWR Drummond D15. I haven't got the tender for it yet, but it uses the usual Ferris 4P chassis. So I still need to put the motor in, but still, it's looking quite nice. May need to make a few adjustments to it, and also make the little safety valves on top of the dome a bit more solid. But anyway, now onto the big rake of coaches. So this is the Billington Rover B and C sets. So we've got the this is the Rover C set, which you see here, which is a more southern period of coaches. I have got the B set also designed up, and also 1 or 2 other extra coaches as well. So you've got a nice range of coaches to pick through, and I have also made a luggage van to go with it. These are actually some of my most detailed models. I've actually put all the all the handles onto the vehicles. Looking rather nice there. And also on the ends. And they get to put together as you would expect for my usual coaches. So yeah, that's all of them. So I'm going to tell you how to put them all together in a moment. Then we'll get them onto the turntable and show you each one by one. And well, tell you a bit more about each prototype. So yeah, I'll see you in a bit. Oh, and yeah, underframes for the coaches, yes. So yeah, I'll see you in a bit. Right, we have all the models now on my desk, and I'll just go through each and every one of them and show you how to put them all together. So we'll start with the 4 sub first. So we'll put the motor unit over here, and the 3 rear trailer coaches, you pretty much, well, you build them like how you do with my coaches. So you paint them, do all that lot in first. You also pick out all the details, because you don't need to add the handrails separately. Add all the glazing, add the undercarriage, the underframe, which you should also paint as well. Unfortunately, I don't have any spare wheels or anything like that, but you then add the wheels, and then it's pretty much all done. Very simple. So I'll just pop you out of the way, and there is a different underframe for the trailer driving unit as well, so do make sure you do put the right one in there. So I'll pop you there. Now for the actual motored version, first of all you remove all the supports on the inside. You also clean it all off just to make sure it's nice and smooth. Unfortunately I haven't quite done that yet, but it will be important. Paint it as always, and add all the glazing, all the other things, same as the other ones, and then you just get a suitable suitable motor unit. This is a Tomitech TM25, if I remember right. Cut off the ends if you need to, just to make sure that it's not going to be too long. then you just carefully pop it inside and then secure it as well. I would do that as well, but unfortunately it keeps trying to slide off and go everywhere. So that is that. Quickly do the coaters as well. Coaters is, well, what you expect. You paint them, glaze them, pick out all the details, add the underframe, which should also be painted as well, and add all the glazing as well, and then add the wheels. And for the luggage van, it's basically the same thing, apart from that you use a, what's it, Engage Society stove chassis instead, and you just pop it on like that. So paint it and all the other lot and all the other nice things. So I'll pop you over there. For the D15, it's used a four-piece chassis, which you do need to strip the motor out because it is far too wide. I'll just get you my L1 because it is the same thing which you need to do with this. So you need to strip out the motor and then replace it with a suitable smaller motor like what I've got here. And then, well, you can probably use the original tender chassis, well, tender, but yeah, I'm going to call it tender chassis for the 4P. However, it is probably going to be a bit too long. So what I've got here with the L1 is I've got a N-class tender chassis, and I've rigged it together to be basically pulled by the 4P. So I've made myself its own drawbar, and then you can all connect it all together with the pickups in the tender. So I'll just pop you over there, and that's pretty much how I do. Well, how I'll be doing all my 440s in the future. So very simple. Unfortunately, I haven't quite bought all the pieces yet, so I'll pop you over there. And lastly, we come to the i2. Now this uses a Depot 1400 chassis. Pretty much strip it as much as you can to begin with. And this is a Depot M7 rear bogie, which works quite well. Now, I haven't quite worked out how to fit this onto there yet. I was originally thinking a screw drilled into here might work, but I may alter the design to have a little pin, and then you can, well, a little pin which will fit right through this little hole, and then you can just cap it off like how you could do with my, well, with the coaches as well. So maybe doing the same way. And the only thing which you really need to do with the chassis here is just make it a tad bit thinner. Because if you look at the moment, it is a bit snug. So it's mostly where the doors are here. So it's mostly around this area. So it does make it a little bit thinner there. Then it should fit snugly inside. And you should be able to fit a bit more weight on the inside as well. Probably around this area where the water tanks are. Yeah, that's a bit, that's probably a bit wide at the moment. So I'll leave that sat nicely on top of there. And that's roughly how you put them all together. So it's always good to have, well, see how I do it, then also see what works for you. So that's pretty much how all of these go together. It's not all that complicated. Probably the most complicated one will be the 4-piece chassis, because you need to remotor it. But in fact, this does make perfect, because if I can do it, trust me, you lot could probably do it as well. So yeah, what I found easiest is basically holding the motor in my hands and with a battery and seeing what position it's most comfortable with, and then once it's like that, quickly make sure I can glue it into the right spot. Do use 2-part epoxy glue instead of just normal glue. And yeah, for the drawbar, you just use some thin copper or other suitable material. But yeah, that's pretty much it, really. So yeah, let's get on to showing you all of these in close detail, and then I can tell you a bit more about each of the prototypes. So I'll see you in a bit. The LBSCR I2 class was a class of 442 steam tank locomotives designed by D.E. Marsh for suburban passenger service on the London Brighton South Coast Railway. The I4 class was the same design but incorporated a superheated boiler. In 1907, following the failure of his I1 class, Douglas Marsh sought to remedy some of the faults using a new design of 442 tank engine with a longer wheelbase, larger boiler, and detailed changes to the front end. In the original order, 5 of the locomotives would incorporate a superheated boiler, to be supplied by the North British Locomotive Company, and the remainder using traditional saturated steam boilers from Brighton Works. However, the superheated boilers were delayed in construction, so all 10 I2 locomotives had traditional boilers. When the superheated boilers eventually arrived, they were used for 5 further locomotives of the same design as the I2, but these were classified as I4. Unfortunately, neither the I2 nor I4 classes addressed the fundamental problems with the I1 class, which was the firebox that was far too small. As a result, the two classes had relatively short lives working lightly loaded secondary services, and the Stroudley D1 class and Billington E4 class, which they had been designed to replace, continued working. All the I2s were drawn between 1933 and 1939, but 2 locomotives numbers 2013 and 2019 saw further service on the Longmoor Military Railway, where they survived until at least 1947. At Longmoor, they were numbered 2400 and 2401, respectively. These numbers were later changed to 72400 and 72401. The I4 class were drawn between 1936 and 1940. No examples of either class have been preserved. Robert Billington introduced bogie carriages in 1894, with a style exactly matching his 6-wheeled stock, and this was to remain the standard for most of the LBSCR coaches until the final vehicles were built at Lancing Works during 1924. Most were 48-foot long, with a few at 50 foot until 1904, after which a length of 54 foot became standard, with just one 56-foot design. Even during Marsh's tenure as locomotive superintendent, most new Brighton coaches continued to conform to the Billington style, with the exception of the balloon coaches built between 1905 and 1907. Therefore, by 1923, ex-LBSCR trains presented a very homogeneous and tidy, if perhaps dated, appearance. The Brighton began forming permanent mainline set trains from 1906 onwards, and by 1923 there was a considerable number in service, ranging between 2 and 9 bogie coaches in a set. The 3 and 4 coach formations were by far the most numerous, and by June 1924 were being referred to in the carriage working notices as rover sets, Type A being 3 coach sets, Type B as 3 coach lavatory sets, and finally Type C as 4-coach lavatory sets. Withdrawal of the shorter coaches took place largely between 1930 and 1934, while the 54-foot steam-hauled coaches suffered the same fate by 1941 on the mainland, only being outlasted by porpoise set and electric stock conversions. However, some coaches were sent to the Isle of Wight from 1934 to 1939, and as it is well known, some of them remained in service until the end of steam working on the island in December 1966. 3 of these are now preserved by the Isle of Wight Steam Railway at Haven Street. Perhaps bizarrely, some of the island transfers were rebuilt into almost identical configurations as constructed by the LBSCR some 20 years earlier. The LSWR D15 class was the last steam locomotive designed by Drummond for the London South Western Railway in 1912. By that time, Drummond had built several classes of unsuccessful 460 express passenger locomotives. The result of these failures is what he then decided was to be his last class in 1911. A new 440 design emerged from Eastleigh Works in February 1912, the first locomotive of his D15 class. Contrary to Drummond's previous 460 designs, the D15s performed exceptionally well and were put to work on trains to Bournemouth, where many drivers noted their superior operational characteristics when compared to the T14 class 460s. This was due to a marked reduction in coal, water, and oil consumption, and easier maintenance. However, with the succession of Urey, no further D15s were constructed, as he preferred to concentrate on 460 designs. The successful locomotives worked in the main out of Waterloo, and for a period prior to electrification had a virtual monopoly on the Portsmouth expresses, until the schools class were introduced. Until the advent of the Bulleid Light Pacifics, a D15 was usually to be found working the Brighton to Plymouth service. Number 468 differed from the rest of the class in that it had the safety valves mounted on the firebox, with the Urey N15 style dome and safety valve casings, whilst the others had Drummond direct-loaded safety valves on their domes. As built, number 463 was fitted with a hooter rather than a whistle, which it kept until the Second World War. The class continued into British Railway service in 1948, but were gradually withdrawn in the early 1950s. This meant that none survived to be preserved. The Southern Railway and the BR Southern Region used the designation sub to cover a wide variety of electric multiple units that were used in the inner suburban workings in the South London area. The designation sub was first officially used in 1941 to refer to the newly built 4-car units. However, during the 1940s, large numbers of the earlier 3-car suburban sets were increased to 4 cars by the addition of an extra trailer and became part of the 4 subcategory. Many of these later examples survived in passenger use until late 1983, by which time British Rail had allocated them the TOPS class 405. In 1939, following the appointment of Oliver Bulleid as Chief Mechanical Engineer, the Southern announced a new welded steel 4-car suburban unit with curved sides, seating 6 passengers across rather than the normal 5. As built, these had composite seating accommodation in one trailered car and domed cab roofs, but because first-class accommodation in the London suburban area was withdrawn in October 1941, the 6 first-class compartments were declassified to third class before the unit was placed in service. 20 units were introduced from 1946 with vertical slab front end and third-class accommodation only. 179 out of the 184 new units constructed between 1946 and 1951 were still surviving at the introduction of the TOPS computer system in the early 1970s, but were expected to have limited working lives. The rebuilt units began to be withdrawn in the late 1950s, and all had been withdrawn by the end of the 1960s. Apart from a few accident-damaged units, the newly built units began to be withdrawn in 1972, and all have been withdrawn by 1983. Only a handful of sub-stock carriages have survived in preservation. Right, and there we are with everything pretty much had a look at. Hope you have enjoyed seeing all the nice things which I got. And hopefully this is the last video where I've got 4 products to show off in a month, because as I've been trying to catch up with everything, but yes, so hopefully I won't be making 4 products in a month, but next time it will just be the usual 3. But yeah, let's see if I can get something running. Unfortunately it will be just a tank engine, and it will be under battery power, and since it's still a Dapol 1400 chassis without anything changed, it's not going to be the best of runners, but let's have a quick look. Come on. There we go. Ooh. I say that and it's off. And it's got stuck there. Yeah. Hopefully I can sort that. Let me just see if I can get it backwards. Come on. There you go, got a bit of running out of it. So yeah, that should hopefully improve as I add some extra weight to the inside of the model, and I may look at replacing the motor. I'm not entirely sure about that yet, but we'll have to see. But yeah, that's pretty much it really. I said I hope you enjoyed what you saw today. If you do like anything in particular, do feel free to order in my usual methods like Facebook, Instagram, the Engage forums, my order form, however you feel like. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it all. And yeah, if you do like the video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. And if you didn't like the video, well, I hope you enjoyed it anyway. And that's going to be it for me. I'm still unsure about this format. So by the time this video comes, well, hopefully by the time this video comes out, the other one, I would have been able to get feedback from the first one. So I'll have to find out from there. So yes. Anyway, that's it. Going to be it for me, and I'll see you all again next time. So take care now. Bye bye.